Oh, here we are, live streaming from Unity of the Palm Beaches. I am in my office at Temple Israel in downtown West Palm Beach. I am here alone in this office. So, after a few weeks, it's kind of beginning to become somewhat familiar, though. Let me just say to you that I really miss you. I miss being with you. I miss seeing your faces. I miss hugging you. Perhaps some of you are experiencing that as well, particularly those who are used to being here together in our Unity community. So this is on our website, www.unitypalmbeach.com. We're also connected to Facebook. So, as I will continue to remind you, those of you who are watching on Facebook, some of you I may know and some I may not know. As it goes out onto a universal feed, I welcome you. If I do not know you, again, I'm not sure whether that was picking up or not. I am Taylor Stevens. I am the senior minister, spiritual leader here at Unity of the Palm Beaches in West Palm Beach, Florida. I welcome you, whether I know you or not. Now we are connected, at least virtually. And during this time, though technology, I'm becoming friendlier with it, but it's not one of my strong suits. I have had kind of a give and take relationship with it, if you will. But right now, because we can connect in this way, I'm very, very grateful for it. So whether you are on Facebook or whether you are on our website, as I started to say, if you are on Facebook and you do choose to give, to support this community, and we certainly, particularly at this time, we invite you to do so with no offering buckets, as I call them, to pass. The only way that we can sustain this is through online donations. And so if you are on Facebook and you do choose to give, I would invite you to go over to our live stream page, our website, again, unitypalmbeach.com, and there you will find donate buttons. That money comes to us directly, immediately. Facebook money can take between 2 and 3 months, and at this time, with everything else that is unfolding, that may even be longer. We don't know that yet. So again, welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's connect and begin this time with a prayer, if you will. So just take a breath with me. Wherever you may be, whether you are by yourself, whether you are with someone else or with a small group, whether you are choosing to socially distance or whether you are not, we are here and we are together in this moment. Many, many time zones, many, many geographic locations, many, many bodies, and yet one essence, one source. As we bring our awareness down into the heart space, and I do invite you into that experience with me, as we literally drop our attention from our heads down into our hearts. We begin to get a sense of the atmosphere that is within that sacred portal, the energy center that, yes, contains the physical heart, but is much larger, much vaster. It is the place where the soul enters into the body and into the earth realm. And as we bring our awareness and our attention to our hearts, we become privy to the something greater, to the genius, the brilliance that is creation itself, that is our shared essence. And so while we may be physically distanced, as soon as we breathe into our hearts, as soon as we tap into the essence, into that energy, we begin to feel and sense that deeper connection. the sea of one, if you will, with an expanding awareness of that essence energy. We are grateful to be together, grateful to be at one, grateful to know that by joining here, we co-create a world that works for all. We are blessed and we are grateful. And so it is. All right, so again, welcome and thank you for joining us. Though we are not physically able to meet at this time, we are choosing to honor the guidelines. At this point, we really have no idea when we will be meeting here again physically, but I personally am really trusting that we're going to follow the guidelines, we're going to follow the science, which is, in fact, for me at least, the genius of God. It's not separate. We're going to follow those guidelines. We're going to also listen deeply into our hearts, listen to the guidance that comes through us. And I know that we will know when it is time to come back into our physical facility. Until then, we have multiple ways that we can virtually join together. I invite you to look at our website, to, if you are not already, sign up for our Conscious Connection e-newsletter. You can do that on our website. There are classes happening with our wonderful licensed Unity teacher, Trish Yancey. You will hear her singing in just a little bit. I'm doing a group called A Distancing Devotional. That's happening on Zoom. Trish is doing her classes on Zoom, so they're not on our website per se, but they are happening on Zoom. We invite you into those. You need to get a code from our office, so contact the office through the website or directly, either call or email our administrator, Diane, at unitypalmbeach.com. We will give you those codes and you can join with us. Again, back to the distancing devotional, 11:15 to 12, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Thursday is mostly a contemplative prayer group. So those 3 days we are joined. I will also most likely be starting an evening class Wednesdays throughout the month of May. So we have these Sunday experiences, we have Trish's classes going on, we have my groups going on, we have a lot going on so that we can stay connected and stay prayed up, which I think with everything that is going on around us, that is so essential. It is for me, that this is an opportunity to really put into practice these principles, these wonderful, simple yet profound and transformative unity principles. This is the time where really they become practical, they become transformative. So join us any chance you get. Again, the Zoom technology is, what a time in human history that we have these things, that we have these ways of joining. We can join from all over the world and we can be together. And so it's a blessing, though there certainly are tragic consequences to this virus. There are people that are dying every single day, that are dying without their families. I do not deny the tragedy, the pain, and the suffering associated with that. But I also know that we can relate to this in ways, and we're going to talk about this today, in ways that can have a truly transformative effect. So, so join us. Anytime you choose, join us. And I'm glad you're here today. We're going to continue with our Daily Word. Daily Word is a publication, for those not familiar, published by Unity World Headquarters. Very, very wondrous little publication, simple, always has a daily word or words. It has an affirmation, a scriptural reference, and it has a text that talks about that particular theme for the day. So the Daily Word is available both paper, you can order it through Unity, go to their website, or you can get it online. So again, you can connect with that virtually. Today's daily word that we will share, and then Trish will bring us musically into our meditation time, and then we'll experience that. So our daily word for today is understanding. So the daily word for April 19th, 2020, understanding. The affirmation, I open myself to spiritual understanding. Again, I open myself to spiritual understanding. The text, when I feel frustrated by a personal or professional challenge, or feel unsafe or concerned about a situation or event, I seek greater understanding. When I try to understand, I open my heart. Very key, hear that. When I try to, or when I allow understanding, I open my heart. Maybe I just need to gather more information or request the advice of someone I trust. If I am in conflict with someone, I practice understanding by listening with a curious mind and a loving heart. I grow in spiritual understanding when I discern and heed my inner guidance. Beyond conscious thought, spiritual truth begins to illuminate my consciousness. As I release all that stands in the way of understanding and stand firm in the love that calls it forth, I am guided by my growing spiritual understanding. The scripture from Psalm 119, your decrees are righteous forever. Give me understanding that I may live. I open myself to spiritual understanding. And now Trish will begin to sing us into our time of prayer and meditation. And so I invite you again to drop your attention down in. Listen to the beautiful voice and lyric, When I Pray.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray.
So once again, I invite you to allow your awareness, your attention to drop down inside. Even as you continue to hear the strains of music, and my words. We understand that the words and the descriptions, the ideas, the concepts. All seeking to point us to an experience that is far beyond what can be described. There is concept and there is felt reality. And so as we again drop the attention into the heart center, as we become very aware of our breath and of our breathing, we allow each breath each inhalation each exhalation each pause between to become a living sacrament to attune us, to align us with what is truth. With what is most real. With the infinite possibility always seeking expression. And so we breathe. We open. We allow each one of those conscious breaths to bring us more deeply into the truth of our being, into the truth of all being, into the stillness. Be still in order to know. Be still. And slowly, gently, allow the music and these words to bring you back to a more external orientation. Continuing to feel this underlying essence throughout the remainder of our time together. And so it is. Amen.
I look to you. I look to you. And when melodies are gone, in you I hear a song. I look to you. I look to you. I look to you.
Thank you, Trish. That was Trish Yancey. Those familiar with our community know her well, and she is a licensed Unity teacher. She is our youth and family director. Obviously, an extraordinary singer. So, thank you so much for that. I think you heard, I hope, at least some of that. We continue to grow into our technology. It is trying to merge the music and the video and the sound and all of that. That little glimpse you caught there was our executive director, Diane Bruce, trying to, again, to make this as nourishing as we possibly can. It's so great for me to experience this week after week. I've lost track, 5, 6 Sundays now, and so many wonderful people with much greater minds than me working to make this happen for you. So Bill Betts, again, Diane Bruce, Carolyn Albee, and Jennifer Berger, and Trish, and so many people. And we do continue to have some glitches. And so I get to be on camera and move from, I want to get this right for you, and recognizing that truly it is what it is. And thematically for today, it's absolutely perfect. So I selected our theme for the year, 2020 Vision. We're looking at, within that theme, a whole new world within me now. We are deeply exploring every single month our 5 Unity principles. If you're not familiar, you'll be catching those week after week. What Charles Fillmore called the 12 powers. I look at those more as the spiritual attributes, faculties, capacities that are a part of our spiritual nature. And when we really align with the deeper truth of what we are, these principles and these attributes will govern and guide us throughout anything. And so I was so profoundly hopeful, and I could feel a deeper level of possibility than I have felt for a long time as we came into 2020 and into this idea of visioning, and so I really just had this deep expectancy that something really incredible was going to happen in the year 2020. And so in addition to our yearly theme, our monthly themes, which thus far we have explored imagination, love, understanding, and this month, April, we have been exploring life. Those are the 4 spiritual attributes, capacities that we have explored thus far. So I also have a talk title, if you will, every week, every Sunday. I do that so that our youth and family and our adults are exploring the same ideas, so our parents in our congregation can have a shared conversation after our service. When we are here together, they can share the same kinds of ideas when they leave here with their children. And so since I started in 2014, we've had kind of this shared curriculum. I realized that I don't really need to follow those so much now because we're not here together. If people are watching, their children may be watching as well, so they're actually hearing what I'm saying. So there's not so much the need, if you will, for a shared curriculum. Trish is not teaching actively, at least in that venue. She has made incredible videos that you can find on Facebook and will be available for you to share with your children, but they're very much nourishing for adults as well. So those are available for our youth and family. But I did go back and I looked at what the title would have been for today, and I picked our talks earlier than I normally do. I picked them, I think, in the end of December, the beginning of January. And the talk title that I had selected for this particular Sunday was In the Waiting. In the Waiting. And so I looked at that, particularly in order to select music. And I just giggled to myself that I decided not to just kind of ignore those talk titles, but to actually go ahead and use them. But when I looked at the one particularly for today, I thought, wow, In the Waiting. I mean, isn't that really what we're all doing if we choose that? This is an opportunity in human history to really be in a time of waiting. You know, this is in the Greek church, this is Orthodox Easter. So again, happy Easter. We celebrated the traditional Easter last week. This week, Orthodox Easter, having lived in Astoria, Queens for a while, has the largest population of Greek, at least it did at the time, the largest population of Greek people outside of Athens. So there were Greek Orthodox churches all around me, and I would watch and get to witness the pageantry and the magnificence of the observance of Easter in the Greek church. But I would invite you on this Orthodox Easter that perhaps we could have an experience of a kind of an unorthodox Easter. Certainly how I at least observe Easter. I allow for the traditional symbols, the traditional stories, if you will, of what Easter is all about. I grew up with that in the evangelical church. I have a very different understanding, back to the Daily Word, and I have a very different relationship to it today. The beauty of the Unity movement is that we use traditional teachings, traditional scriptures, but we also look at them from a very non-traditional vantage point. But you don't have to, we have no theology. So we have many people from various religious backgrounds, from no religious background, though we use the Hebrew scriptures, if you will, the Old and the New Testament. We look at them from a very non-traditional perspective and from a metaphysical. We are a metaphysical, beyond the physical movement. Steeped in prayer, we use traditional languaging to bring us to a non-traditional understanding. And so for an experience of the unorthodox Easter, we look at that symbol of the cross, if you will. I'm not going to go into it again. I've had a lifelong relationship that continues to evolve. And thanks to the unity movement, to the unity teachings, I have a very different relationship to that symbol of the cross, that symbol of the horizontal plane, the horizontal, the human level of experience, the level of the storyline that is always moving along, that we're together at this human level, at the horizontal level. And we also have the vertical level, the spiritual level. So the human level, the spiritual level, always happening, though we tend to lose sight of. And the critical mass consciousness is still asleep to the vertical truth of the larger capital R reality. We become mesmerized, if you will. We fall under a trance of just the horizontal level. And so we are in that languaging, we are crucified by our identification with the horizontal. As we begin to spiritually awaken, as we begin to allow for our own personal experience of Easter, what the Jewish man, Jesus in English, Yeshua in Aramaic, he came to show us a pattern of living, a pattern of personal empowerment. See, he was the great example, a great example, not the only one. Traditional Christians believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way, truth, and life. So that is a more traditional view of Jesus and the Christian religion. But he was actually the great example, not the great exception. We made an exception out of him. And so we think that we have to go through him. And if that is your belief, then that is your belief. I honor your belief. I believe and have come into a deep, transformative relationship that as I begin every single day of my life to see where I am captured or crucified by the identification with the horizontal level of experience, and that awakening to my own crucifixion. When I realize that that is happening, I can then bring my awareness to the vertical level, to a vertical relationship to the horizontal. Now, if you again look at that symbol, there is a center point, there is an axis point right in the center of the horizontal, the vertical. That center point, the Celtic cross, which is one of my favorite symbols, has that circle in the middle. And it is in the center, in the circle, in the axis point, that we begin to awaken to that distinction between the horizontal and the vertical. And so we are invited repeatedly to go vertical. So when we look at that storyline in a more traditional setting, so Friday was the crucifixion. Sunday is said to be the resurrection for traditional Christians. Maybe for many of you, perhaps even for most of you, that is a literal rising from the dead at the body level. You don't have to believe that. You can. To bring it into the present moment, the resurrection is something that never ceases. Every time we have a different relationship, a higher perspective, every time we go vertical, every time we have an expanded awareness of what is crucifying us, we then can go vertical, and our crucifixion becomes an energetic resurrection or a resurrecting. I like to think of it because it's a movement. It's an ever unfolding opportunity. So in between Friday and Sunday is that middle point. It is the time in the tomb. So back to our theme for today, that time in the tomb, metaphysically, symbolically, is the time of waiting. And as human beings, and particularly in our culture today, we struggle with just waiting, with just stopping, with just coming to that center point and becoming really awake to the fact that though we most often attribute our suffering to what is happening on the horizontal plane, to what out there, see, we blame the out there for the crucifixion that is happening in here, the resistance that is happening in here. If that would change, then I could rise. But in an awakened consciousness, and certainly for me, the deeper meanings of the unity movement, the unity principles, is that no, the out there doesn't have to change. When the in here changes, then I see the out there differently. And when I see the out there differently, the out there changes. Remember our yearly theme, a whole new world within me now. But in order to have that rising, in order to go vertical, we need to have a period of waiting, a period of non-doing. And this, my friends, my beloveds, this is it. So we've been given this tragic time, which I would invite you, what is happening is not punitive. God didn't send a virus any more than God crucified. But consciousness is always not punitive but reflective. And so the critical mass consciousness is being reflected in the outer, and we are seeing, if we have the courage to look, to stop. See, we've been cosmically told, go to your room, stay home, look at what you have been doing individually, which is all I can do anything about. But stop, stay home, go within, stop and stay stopped. Don't fill this time, which now, rather than staying stopped, rather than waiting, rather than just sitting still, looking deeply within, going into the deeper levels of our own consciousness, the temptation, and we see it everywhere. And see, now you could choose to sit on social media all day long. But see, social media is, again, it's reflective. It is an effect of the critical mass consciousness. People are really showing who they are by what they are posting. What if, now, if you weren't on some form of device, some kind of social media, some kind of technology, you wouldn't be able to hear me right now. Having said that, maybe we use this time, because if we do not use this time will use us. I promise you. And so for awakening beings, we look at a world where crucifixion and suffering and death and the outpicturing of actually what was not and is not sustainable. Individually, collectively, we were showing up in ways that are simply not sustainable. And so, in its great compassionate wisdom, something is emerging that we cannot miss. We cannot miss this virus, this outpicturing, this going viral of collective consciousness. I personally, I do not deny or suppress or ignore the toll of human suffering. I now have people in my very direct experience who have lost and are they're losing people from this virus. And it just hits me at such a level. And so I look at that, I feel the pain of that. You know, economically, this is tragic and hard for so many people. And again, I don't ignore that. I don't suppress that. I don't act like that is not happening. For me personally, I'm not economically suffering. I have everything I need. It's not distance. There's the crucifixion happening in me. I struggle. But when I step back and I go, you know what? My wants, my preferences, what I think would be perfect, and I am a perfectionist, but my new reality of perfectionism is that what is now is always perfect. And so my rising up with these technical challenges, and we're continuing to evolve, and a lot of people, as I said before, are working to get this right for you. I'm going to rise up in a deeper knowing that whatever happens, happens, and that's external. How I relate to you anyway is my experience and then my contribution. And so, again, we're given this opportunity to stop and to wait. You know, the Buddhists will say, don't just do something, stand there. Right? Can you hear that? Just stop. Stay stopped. Wait. Wait. This isn't waiting in terms of how we frame that. I have a friend who says to me, I hate to be kept waiting. I hate to be kept waiting. Waiting is a perception. It can also be a spiritual reality. So when we wait, spiritually, that's called liminal space. Liminal space is this sense that we're stopping, we're waiting, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to open to whatever it is that seeks to come forth. That crucifixion is the inability to just pause, to just wait, to stop all the busyness. Don't pick up your phone for 7 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour a day. If you have nowhere to go, stop. Pause. Feel into the potential of just the present moment. You know, when the followers were told, when the followers of Yeshua, after the crucifixion, after the resurrection, after the ascension in that traditional terminology, the followers were waiting in an upper room. They were profoundly frightened because they figured that if the authorities of the day killed their way shower, and at that time, what we call Christianity today was, of course, awakened Judaism, but it was called the Way. They were so frightened that they would be next, that they just stayed together in what we're told was an upper room. Metaphysically, that's the higher levels of consciousness, and they just waited. And they listened. And they felt that liminal space within them. And as we're told in those stories, then, traditional terminology, the Holy Spirit came upon them. And that Holy Spirit, the whole Spirit, the Spirit of wholeness, only comes forth in the waiting. When we stop and when we make space. When we stay. So, for those of you who have taken classes with me, I have what I call puppy on the paper spirituality. And for those of you who have had a puppy and have paper trained the puppy, you put the puppy on the paper and you say, stay, because you want it to learn to go on the paper, not on the carpeting, right? So you put the puppy on the paper and you say, stay. And then the puppy, of course, looks at you and then gets up and moves. And then you take the puppy, you put it back on the paper, stay. You back up a little bit and the puppy, right? That's the way the mind is. Stay. Wait. And then the mind goes, whoo. Particularly now, because we're so addicted to content of the mind, so addicted to our devices, to what is on the screen. We can't just stay with nothing, with space, with liminal space. But from that liminal space, and only from that liminal space, from the waiting, from the staying, from the opening, that and only that is where the miracle of ascension can happen. And so I invite you in this profound time of human consciousness, of the unfolding, to have a very conscious relationship with the unfolding, with what is happening in our world, with the thousands and thousands of deaths, with those suffering, the people that cannot be with their loved ones. They have to watch the transition of their loved ones again on a device. Step back. Drop down. Feel the space that is available, that liminal space. And then, as we talked about, if you were with me, this unorthodox Easter experience It is the caterpillar enclosing itself in the cocoon. We're being called into the cocoon, and then the caterpillar melts. And it is from the ooze, from the melted caterpillar, that the imaginal cells, what are called the imaginal cells, I think of it as imaginal activity. It is when we go within and stay still and wait, that imaginal activity of a higher consciousness can happen in us. And then as it happens in us, we relate from it. We recognize that what is happening out there has no ultimate authority. And as we relate wakefully, we begin to declare. We look right at what's happening. We close our eyes momentarily. We go into the liminal space that is always within us. We declare that the truth of our being is what is truth, and that by law, consciousness is causal, and consciousness that is causal then becomes effect. And so we speak to the virus from a space of waiting. The power of consciousness, the power of resurrection is within you. It is within me. And the more of us that align in that, the more powerful it becomes in terms of its effects on the planet. And so is that beautiful song, I pray that you could hear the lyrics that Trish was singing. I look to you. It's very dualistic in its languaging, but feel it. This is the opportunity. I look to you in terms of the godness that is within us. I allow crucifixion to become, I go vertical. I allow that to become resurrection, resurrecting within me. I rise. And as I rise, all are lifted. Together, there is no virus that can stop us. But we must stop. We must stay stopped. Sit. Feel the impulse to distract or to deaden. Pick up the phone one more time. Stop. Stay. Puppy on the paper. In the waiting, we rise. And as we rise, the outer is transformed via the inner. Wait. Stay. Shine. And so it is. So it is my prayer that something that I have shared, some of you were, actually many of you last week were making comments to me on Facebook. I'm looking right into a direct feed camera from the internet. I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not seeing. I wasn't ignoring you last week, but I'm not on social media and may not be on social media today, or if only for a moment or two to look at and connect with you. But if you are on Facebook, I would like to invite you at this point especially, and those of you who are on our website, those of you directly connected to our community, and perhaps those of you who are not. Right now, if you are hearing my voice, you are connected. I pray that you have received some spiritual food, some spiritual nourishment today. If you have, I invite you to give. Again, from our website, there are donate buttons on almost every page. We invite you to give, perhaps consider reoccurring donations. I've been on reoccurring donations since it became available for us, and so every single week my donation happens. It feeds this wonderful. I'm so grateful to have this community all the time, but particularly now, because even though we can't be together, I know you're there. You're seeing me. I can feel you. And I am so grateful that during this time when so many feel lost and in despair. So many protesting about just being asked to stay home. Just stay home, wait. We have this. I'm so grateful. So I invite you to give. Support this. You've been so generous so far. We're doing pretty well, but we're below where we would be if we were together. So I really invite you to give. Again, sign up for the newsletter. It's available on our website. Then you're going to know all of the things that are happening online through Zoom. Join as often as you want, and in between, wait, stop, stay. Give yourself the gift of some quiet time. So we're going to share our prayer for protection as we do every week when we are actually together. And if you know it, say it with me, a little bit of an expanded version, and then Trish will sing our peace song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, for us. So together, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. And all will be well. And so it is. Amen. Trish.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish, and thank you.